Introducing a new podcast. Karen Hunter is awesome.
If you like me on SiriusXM Urban View Channel 126, you're gonna love me. And Karen Hunter is awesome. Hey, this is Karen Hunter, host of the Karen Hunter Show on SiriusXM's Urban View. Karen Hunter is awesome is an actual podcast to bring heat and energy and knowledge and power. A 1-2 punch that I don't think you get anyplace else. Tell the truth. So check out the podcast wherever you get your podcast. You will not be disappointed.
Karen Hunter is awesome. A new podcast from Karen Hunter.
Yeah, I was just saying, though, Seena, that we're in a certain time where it's so crazy that I'm having a hard time making sense and they having anything of value to add to this conversation. I don't.
Well, may I wish I was on earlier after the Luigi thing happened, because I wanted to see what you thought about this, because for me, the first thing I thought of was, wow, I can't believe it took this long for the rage to bubble over. And that's not like a positive thing I'm saying. That's me kind of, calling it like I see it. And the amount of rage that's been bubbling up in this country since 2008, really. I would go back to the financial collapse and go back to then and see how upset so many people are. I mean, Donald Trump got into office twice on rage, on pure resentment. And you could see how many people were happy about this that were from both sides of the aisle. That shows you the fundamental resentment and anger that's happening in this country. Mm-hmm. And that's what really struck me, is I didn't even really think about it. I mean, violence is bad. We shouldn't have violence. But at the same time, there's an explanation here that you can point to.
I actually don't agree, because if people were that enraged, they would have voted differently. If you really cared about your health care and all of this.
That would presume that people think that voting is actually going to do something that helps them. Voting has not helped a lot of these people since the 80s when globalization took over.
Okay, I mean, I don't agree with you. And
yeah, but you like my point, though.
Yeah, no, I mean, your point is your point, and it's not a wrong point. I feel like people feel that way, but it's not fact. Okay, so Elon Musk uses Twitter. First of all, he buys Twitter on purpose to influence the election. And then he has been using Twitter to not just misinform, but be the purveyor of misinformation. He's been pushing it out. So a CEO of Cash App a founder of Cash App gets killed. He goes to Twitter to demonize the unhoused and calling it the criminal element in San Francisco. And then San Francisco gets a new mayor. London Breed doesn't get reelected, right? Somebody who has been hard on fixing the homeless, the unhoused problem. You know what I'm saying? I'm not saying these things are probably connected, right? So you're pushing hard, but nobody pushes back, right? So when they say, no, that's not what happened, it was an acquaintance, because most crime like that happens with people who know people. Most people kill people that they know. It's very rare. The rare thing is the random thing. Most of these killings happen in familiarity. So I'm saying that the whole structure of this world is upside down, but we all live someplace. And if we understood the power of voting, now we can sit here and argue whether the elections are fair and the machines work or what have you. But the reality is a lot of people sat home. And if you're that enraged, you would take that to the ballot box and at least hope to push the lawmakers into doing the things that you want them to do. What's wild today, the GOP is going hard in the paint for this child tax credit, which is a good thing. Somebody with 2 children that you have, Josh Hawley of all people, his decrepit ass made a big opening bid in the 2025 tax battle, calling for the child tax credit to increase from a maximum of $2,000 to $5,000 per kid. That's a Democratic policy, but they're now co-op. This game that we're in, if we don't get savvy with playing it and knowing all of the rules, I'm saying that's a checkmate right there.
The Democrats have lost the platform, the backing of working Americans. And then Biden commutes the sentence of Judge Conahan from Wilkes-Barre that was sentencing kids to juvenile detention center by taking away their right to counsel. This
That
is
Pennsylvania judge?
Yes, this is what happened. The big commutation that just happened of
I know what
1,500
I know what you're
people.
saying.
We just
He
talked
was
about
among
it.
them?
He
Oh
was
my
among
God.
them. And this is the Kids for Cash scandal.
I
We
remember.
covered it on Fraudsters. I cried in this episode. We had to edit it out because it was so despicable. And the man was on home confinement in Jupiter in a house that with the funds that he used from the Kids for Cash scandal to buy his house in Jupiter. He was on home confinement there, and then he was able to get released as part of this mass commutation. What's the point of being a Democrat, by the way? What's the point?
Oh,
The Democrats, they're not talking to the working class. They're not talking, they're not walking the walk at all.
okay. I'm glad you asked that question because I think somebody's going to run for the Democratic National Committee chair who I like a lot. And I think they're a good person. And I think they would do a great job for this country. I thought they would have made a great governor. I thought they didn't get elected, but he's running for vice chair, actually. And I'm like, I definitely want to support him. But I supported Keith Ellison when he was up for it. They went with somebody. Who they go? Oh, Jamie Harrison. Okay. It's like, so
Jamie, I love
it wasn't Tom Perez.
Harrison.
I'm sorry, Jamie Harrison. Any opportunity I get to say your name, I'm gonna do it. But it was Tom Perez. They picked Tom Perez, who I was like, what is he wet paint drying? I don't know what he does. I know what Keith Ellison would do in that position because he's a fighter. He's scrappy. I don't know you, Tom Perez, and I was right. Tom Perez, okay. So what is it? How do we get any power in this? Should we just say F it and not even try to get good people in these positions?
It seems like the Democratic Party has been filled with consultants and operators, whereas the Republican Party, through their own weird revolution, has now somehow created a bottom-up approach to their party. Through their own faults, they've destroyed themselves, but what destroyed them was a bottom-up movement of resentment that somehow that was more intersectional, by the way, than any Democratic election that we've seen. They pulled in more. Their tent is getting bigger. It's probably bigger.
No. What is happening?
It's like,
okay. Somebody asked the question, Shaughnessy in Nubia. What do you mean? What when they say working class? What do they mean by that? Who are these working class people that they've lost forever? What do they look like?
When I think of working class, I mean anyone below like management, pretty much. Anyone making below 200, probably 150 and down, you're in the working. If you're not management and above, because you're talking about folks that are salaried employees, and that's where they're gaining all of their work, right? That's where they're getting all of their income. People that are like management and above are usually salary, plus they're able to derive income from other investments and all these other things that if they do go into, like, here's maybe an even better point. How far away are you from, being bankrupt, right? How many problems, how many health problems how many car problems would it take to bankrupt you? How many, if you lost your job, how long would you be able to do a job search for?
Okay. It sounds like you've never been poor. And let me just say, Seena Ghaznavi, I know you had a lot of debt, but you're talking like somebody that doesn't. No one who is in the struggle is thinking about bankruptcy. You're not thinking about not being able to pay your bills because even though it's weighing on you.
What is the working class?
Right, because I think people don't even identify with that term.
Well, I don't think it has anything to do with me whether or not I was poor or not. My parents came here with nothing.
No,
so,
I know. This is somewhat what I'm saying is that the way that we talk about these things is out of touch from how people actually live their lives every day. And even a person on the brink of bankruptcy, I've been there at least twice. And each time I've never thought that I needed to go back, and I didn't. I should have filed bankruptcy, but I never thought about I'm one paycheck away from. I thought about how am I going to get ahead of this? And some things worked and some things didn't, and you just keep grinding and you keep working. You're not thinking about whether you're working class or whether you're middle class or whether you're thinking, I don't have enough to pay these bills, and let me figure out how to get enough by any means necessary. And some of us make choices, I've been there as well, to make a choice that it could be illegal, but you're like, hey, the ends will justify the means because I need to get up out of this situation, and you're not even judging yourself. What I'm saying is the problem with politics is that we're trying to find these categories of people instead of just serving folk. And this checkmate that the GOP is pushing a child tax credit, there are a lot of people that don't care about R's and D's anymore are going to say, this has helped me the way folk were talking about that damn stimulus check, which was, they didn't care how it got there. They just know Trump's signature was on it. What I'm saying is, Seena, the marketing of actually serving people, the Democrats have no idea how to tell that story. And this is why we're here right now, because I'm looking at, it's frustrating. We just say.
I agree. They don't know how to tell the story, but it's very clear that the Republicans do know how to tell the story, and they're telling the story in the way that the Democrats told it 20 years ago. So I don't think there's not a magical thing there. Everything that's no. Go look at who they're talking to all the time. They've tapped into the blue collar resentment of millions of Americans. That's how they won those areas. I don't. It's not magic. It's just we got overrun with like consultants, and you could see that if you go audit the books on this last presidential campaign, I think you'll see a lot of people that are consultants that are from Ivy League schools, and that none, as you would say, grew up poor and really understood how to convey the messaging. So this is really, it's not rocket science. What happened?
Well, except for it wasn't the working poor or the working class. It was bigotry that won. It was the ads about trans, Kamala Harris supporting, spending our tax money for trans people to get surgeries and get hormones. It was the Mexicans and the border and close the border and don't let them in and send them back. It was these Haitians are eating your cats and dogs, and therefore we got to close the border because it's the Haitians and it's the Mexicans and it's the black people because they're woke, and it's woke this and woke that and DEI, and they're making you feel bad about being white, and shame on them for making you feel bad. We're going to bring back discrimination. They're going to say, we're going to ban discrimination against white men. We're going to ban if you elect us, we're going to ban discrimination against. There's discrimination against white men. That's what they won on. They didn't win on policy. And then they came to dumbass stimulus check people.
No one ever said policy. I didn't say policy. I would also not just put it in the camp of just bigotry. These things are not isolated into silos. They blend together and they work together extremely well. From the early 1900s, people in positions of power have used the working class with racial undertones to attack each other so that the people in power can stay in power. This is an old
It is an old playbook. It is.
That they just did.
But it only works because of the bigotry. It wouldn't work otherwise.
Sure, it's the
it's the overtone. It's not under.
Well, it was very over. They didn't really need to make it under this time. That's true. It was very much over.
They're like, tap, tap, tap. Let's put this directly into people's veins because they're eating it up. This is like the new crack. All right. 866.
Wait, but how would you define the working class, though? I don't think I tried to answer the question.
I think the problem is we're too easy. Those of us that, and again, I didn't grow up poor. So let me don't take it as because I didn't grow up poor at all. But I think, we sit here pontificating about things when I think the people who are out there living the thing aren't putting themselves in a category. It was Joe the plumber remember Joe the plumber? It was these people, but the plumbers make more money than most school teachers. So
plumbers make good money.
Way more.
They'll be the
so
last
what are we
ones
talking?
to get,
so that's not, working poor, working class. No, Joe the plumber, a real plumber. I don't know, and rest in power wherever he is. But I feel like the messaging, the real messaging is bigotry, and so we can have these conversations all we want, but